And let's get to the next game, everybody. Game number 3, it's by King Hunter. And I'm not sure if he's here. I haven't seen him in the chat yet. King Hunter, hope you're here. Otherwise, you'll see this later. And I hope that my remarks will be useful to you. So let's begin. King Hunter with the white pieces against passed pawn. And let's see the opening. This is the Greenfeld defense. Main line, c5. Now bishop e3. Okay, there's also rook b1. And c takes c4 is a very rare move here by black. Usually black does not do that, but we're analyzing the game for white, so I won't spend much time on that. Knight c6, rook c1. This was the first moment where I stopped for a little bit. I was wondering if you also consider d5, which is a common motive to give up the rook on a1. And here white would win material immediately, as black hasn't castled yet. White attacks the rook on h8 and the knight is still attacked, so white would get 2 pieces for the rook. So black couldn't be able to take, and then if he plays knight e5, you could just take and play the rook to c1 now, and I think this would also be nice. But what you're doing here is perfectly fine. Rook c1, use the move, occupy the open c file and prepare d5. Bishop g4, and now we play d5. That's great because black's being punished here for not having castled yet. King f8, now back bishop to e2, and so far you're playing very well. Check, king f1, that's also fine. Black hasn't castled, you're not castling, but you have the bishops, you have the pawns, you have the c file, so this is all in your favor. Black decides, okay, let me have something, let me have this pawn on a2 for my other problems here, and he grabs the pawn. Here you make a mistake. You see this option of bringing the rook to the 7th rank, very attractive. Rooks on the 7th rank are usually a good idea, but we have to check if it really is strong, and here unfortunately black has a strong way to deal with it. Let's keep the bishop. Bishop e2 would have been very nice here. The knight is somewhat loose on e5 anyway, it's not on a outpost. It can be pushed away with the pawn to f4, which is actually a threat now and then. If knight d7, rook c7 is so much stronger because you're hitting immediately the knight on d7 and just doesn't find a safe spot. So already not easy to suggest a move for black. Maybe h5 to allow knight g4. h3 would be a move, but already here you could somewhat force matters by a sequence of moves. Attack the queen. Only moves for the queen, by the way, and now play f4, knight g4, and play e5 and establish very nice pawns here on e5 and d5. The black pieces are kind of shut out of the game. You can push the knight away if you want to with h3, and sooner or later you will win back one of the pawns here, that's for sure. Black is having tremendous problems in this position because of his obviously discoordinated pieces on the 8th rank, and you will still need some time to get him into a game. You will too, but you have the strong pawn center and also the bishops, and this is promising you a lot here, I would say. So let's see what's happening here. Rook c7, knight c4 is also interesting for black, but knight takes f3, your opponent plays a sequence of really good moves here. He takes on f3, g takes, bishop to e5, and this is the problem. And this is probably what you missed, is that you cannot take the pawn now because of check and attack the rook. And you cannot even stay on the 7th rank. Rook d7 already looks strange immediately, and the rook would be busted now after king e8. What you should do here, you gave a check. What you should do is just bring the rook back, and you still have great compensation for the pawn. Play king g2, or let's say sufficient compensation for sure. And you will get the pawn back sooner or later. You still have this option of playing the rook to c7 maybe later on. Let's say king g7, then you can go bishop d4, trade the bishops, and then the rook would come back to c7 with enormous strength. So probably king g7 wouldn't be a good move because you exchange the bishops and come back. So rook c1 would be best. I can see why bishop h6 was attractive. The king has to go to e8 to keep the e7 pawn protected, but there's another issue. Once again, it's of tactical nature. Here you played rook c2. This is a mistake. You need to go rook c1, but the reason why is quite subtle. and not easy to spot, and I can't really blame you for that, because this is what happens in the game as well. This is what you had to see before moving the rook, and here you need to see this defense d6 to not lose the bishop, and we'll get to why bishop takes g5 lose the piece later on. This is what we'll see in the game, and the point is here the rook needs to be on c1 instead of c2, because after queen takes you can now play either queen b3 or queen a4 check, and somewhat surprisingly, even though you're 2 pawns down, because the black king is so stuck in the center, you still retain equality here, also as the rook is ready to swing in, and probably black should try to repeat moves somehow, even though I'm not sure. I was going to suggest queen e6, but that would run into queen takes b7. So this would be quite an unclear position. So this is why the rook would need to move to c1, because after rook c2 the same thing happens, and I'm guessing this is another thing you missed. At least here you might have stopped for a moment, and of course it would be very ugly to play rook e2, but it would be the best move because you're not losing the bishop, you're not getting in trouble after g5. After king g2, g5, here last moment to save the game was to not take the pawn. You need to play d6, queen takes, and now play queen b1 and try to muddle the waters. Black should maybe just play queen b6 here and go into an endgame where he's 2 pawns up, but still you can fight on for sure. After bishop takes g5, you're just losing the bishop. It's as simple as that. Probably you didn't think there was any other move. So that's candidate moves. Look out for all the moves, and d6 is a way here to play to not lose the bishop on h6. Candidate moves. Also earlier, I'm sure you missed this g5 move. Well, this is also a little bit pattern recognition. If you have seen a lot of or similar positions with a bishop on h6, you know that g5 is an idea, and you have to watch out for that because it could trap your bishop. Usually a pawn isn't undefended as here, but black is just using this fact that your king is on the g file. So I'm sure after this game you will remember this. Alright, let's see what happens here. Rook g8, queen c1. Good move to also have this threat. f6, f4. And I think you're doing a good job to make it hard for your opponent here. And actually here, he made the wrong move. He could win quite easily with this little combination. Bishop takes f4, queen takes, and now rook takes g5 check. King can only step to h3 or f3, and in either case queen d3 comes and picks up the rook, and you can resign. Also, I should point out that rook c8 check can be answered by, I would guess, either king d7 or king f7, but not taking the rook. And yeah, this is too much. So your opponent missed this. He played bishop d6, and now you took the opportunity, you played rook c8, and here your opponent goes wrong again. After queen e6 he would need to go king g7, but he was so focused on the bishop and that he's winning the bishop that he missed that you're bringing the rook into a game. And well, yes, he's getting the bishop. Well, he could take the bishop now, but he would be checkmated in 2 moves after rook c8 and rook takes g8. So you play king g7, and here I quite like this. Now you took the opportunity. You were up to the task. Sometimes our opponents give us gifts, but we also need to accept the gift if it's there. And here this was a big gift because the opponent was completely winning. And now you accepted the gift. Play bishop h6 check. Little tactic, deflection, but one needs to see this stuff as well. And actually, what I'm almost noticing now, this is really cute. Why didn't your opponent try this at least, or play this out? King h8, queen takes g8. Oh, never mind, I'm talking nonsense. I thought queen takes g8 was checkmate, but the king is actually escaping. It's very sad. G6, rook f8, king g6. And I guess f5 also won't get the deal done because of this bishop, and black could play e5. Wait a second. This actually does get the deal done. Oh my god, this would have been gorgeous. I wonder if this was your plan. Am I missing something here? Check, f5. Queen doesn't have a check. Rook f8 is the threat. Nope. Not missing anything here. e6 or e5 is the only move, and then check and checkmate. Yeah, that would have been really nice. Okay, also if you, well, I think you need to do this. Yeah, if you move your king, the position, the queen comes in. So I'm somewhat baffled that your opponent didn't try this, because he took on h6, and after queen takes g8 he resigned, as he should, because you exchange up, threatening to deliver checkmate here. So this is very interesting, but very interesting line. I would be curious if you saw this, if this was your plan when you played bishop h6. If so, kudos to you. Good calculation, because you saw I also took a moment to find this. Not that simple, especially this move f5 is very cute. All right, so let me see the chat before I come to the conclusion. Let me see if you are actually here, King Hunter. All right. Yeah, seems like King Hunter is not here. So let me get to the summary of this game. And I would say that you played the opening really well. You made use of the fact that your opponent didn't really seem to know theory, played energetically, bishop b5 check, and gave the pawn on a2 correctly. You evaluate the position correctly, but then maybe a little bit too hasty playing rook c7 and overlooking some tactics. First, that he has this bishop e5 after taking and coming back to queen, and that you couldn't keep your rook on the 7th, and then also this idea of g5. So tactics, it's all about tactics, but in the end you found the correct tactics to win the game, so that was great. You put up the resistance when you were in trouble, and you forced the opponent to find this one sequence. Well, it wasn't the only one, but you somehow prompted your opponent to make a mistake, and then you took advantage of it and you delivered when it was your turn. So that was good. So I think main takeaway is to always look out for checks and tactics and all that. Undefended pieces, maybe this is also kind of a pattern in this game. First the rook on c7 was undefended, and then the bishop on h6 was also a little bit loose there and could be attacked. And yeah, I guess the only other moment, which maybe wasn't, like I said, it wasn't, yeah, this is where you were a little bit too much in a rush here, and respect the bish, as Tal would say, respect the bishop pair. It's really a great asset in many positions, especially open positions like this one, where the pawn structure hasn't been determined yet, where there are open files, open diagonals. Bishops can be really useful, so try to keep them if you can.